Hello students, in this video we are going to discuss about the processes in the operating system. We will see the definition of a process, the components of a process when it is loaded into the main memory, and the difference between a process and a program. Let's start right now. So what is a process? A process can be defined as a program in execution. What is a computer program? In computer science, a computer program refers to the set of instructions which are written by using a programming language, and the programming language is a language which is used to write or to develop the programs. So a process is a program in execution. A process also can be defined as an instance of a running program, or a process is an entity that can be assigned to and execute on a processor. Remember that during the study of computer hardware, we saw that there is an internal component which is like the brain of a computer. We call it a processor, or simply a central processing unit, or a microprocessor at microcomputers. So a process must be assigned and executed on a processor. In other words, the CPU executes the processes. So, as we have seen, a process is a program in execution. It means that a process resides into the main memory, or primary memory, or random access memory. But a process is a program in execution. A program refers to the set of codes or instructions written by using in programming languages. This means that the program is stored on secondary storage devices, and to become a process, this program must be loaded into the main memory by operating system. So once a process is inside the RAM, or random access memory, it is divided into sections. So let us see the sections for each process loaded into the random access memory. A process is divided into 4 sections, namely stack, heap, text, and data. So this is the portion or the part of main memory or random access memory. So once a process has been loaded into the RAM by operating system, it is automatically divided into 4 sections. We have stack, which is this part. We have also heap, which is this section, this memory segment or section or partition, and we have text which is this memory segment, and we have data which is the following memory segment. These are the memory addresses. We start from 0 to the size of memory, maximum size minus 1, but here this is the process which is loaded into the memory, and it means that this is not the last memory address of this random access memory, but this address denotes where the loaded process occupies the memory address, the last memory addresses of the space accommodating or where this process has been loaded. So the process stack is used to store temporary data. And when we say temporary data, we understand, for example, local variables or function parameters and so on. So the process heap section, this one is a dynamically allocated memory to this process during its runtime or execution. Data, the section called data, contains the global variables. So stack stores local variables, whenever data section stores global variables. What is the difference between local and global variables? In computer programming, a computer program contains the functions. So the variables which have been declared inside the body of a functions are called the local variables. It means that these variables are only known by the functions on which they have been declared, or in other words, other functions in the same program should not use the local variables. But global variables are the variables which have been declared outside of all functions. They can be accessed by any one of the functions in the same program. Here we have the section which is called the text, and this section contains the instructions or just the codes or simply the content of registers of the CPU which is going to execute the following process. So stack is used to store temporary data, as I have said, like function parameters, return addresses, and local variables. Heap is used as a memory which is dynamically allocated to the process during execution, during its execution. Text comprises the contents of processor registers. A processor, as I have told you, is used to run instructions of a computer program. So each processor contains registers, which are special memories inside the CPU used to store instructions before or after execution during a short time period. So text refers to the codes or just instructions of a computer program, but this one contains the content of CPU registers and program counter. Remember that a program counter is an instruction address register, which is also found into a computer processor used to store the address of the next instructions to be executed by the CPU. The last section, which is known as data, is used to store global variables and static variables. I have said that global variables are the variables which are declared outside of all functions in a given computer program. And also in computer science, a variable means the memory zone, which is created by a programmer inside the computer memory, able to store different variables. A static variable will be a variable which has been declared and remains alive during the execution of the functions or the method in which it has been declared. So now let us compare or see the difference between a program and a process. So a program is a set of instructions written by using a programming language. In other words, a program is created by a programmer and stored on a permanent storage device or just a secondary storage device like a hard disk and so on. But a process will be the program in execution. It means that a program exists as a text file, so which is stored on a computer storage device. The operating system loads a program into the random access memory to be executed and becomes a process. So a program is a static object that exists in a file. So it is a text file which is stored on a computer on a secondary storage device. Whenever a process is a dynamic object, it means that a process exists only once it resides in a computer main memory. So a program is in the secondary storage device or backing store, means any device which is able to store data or information for a long time, or just a device which is not directly accessed by computer processor. Whenever a process is loaded into the main memory, we call it main memory or primary memory or random access memory. Means the memory which is directly accessed by a computer processor. So about the lifespan, or just the time in which something exists during the specific time. So a program has a longer lifespan. It means that once as a programmer, once you create a program and you store it on a permanent storage device, it will remain there until you delete it. So the program's lifespan is very long. Whenever the process lifespan is very limited, because once a process is loaded into the memory, the computer processor waits for it to execute it. So once the processor finishes to execute the process will no longer remain in the main memory. So the process lifespan is very limited. It gets terminated after the completion of the task. A program is passive or a static entity. This means that a program remains on the permanent storage device till it will be loaded into the main memory for execution. So it's a passive entity. Whenever a process is a dynamic or an active entity, means a process resides into the main memory and waits for the processor to execute it. And also a program needs only the memory, the space on memory to store its instructions. But in order a process to be executed, many resources are needed. For example, CPU is needed to execute the process, and also memory addresses, because a process resides in a working memory or random access memory. The CPU must use the memory addresses to execute it, and also the process needs input devices or output devices. So thank you for your attention. See you next time. Thank you.